What's up, Game Devs? T-Chan here, and welcome to episode 5 of Game Dev Loadout, where I chat with today's most experienced game developers 7 days a week, where we'll learn about their backgrounds, the obstacles they have to overcome, and the tools they use to be effective. And today's featured guest is Phillip Morales. Phillip, it is go time. Are you ready?
I am ready, Tony. Thank you.
Awesome. So Phillip has been in the game industry for 16 years. He is the co-founder and 3D artist at Orb Interactive. They have a mobile game called Gods of Olympus. Go ahead, Phillip. Give us a bit about your personal life and how you got started in the game industry.
Thank you, Tony. I first started out actually in the game industry. Before I got started in the game industry, I started as a forensic animator, and that's like doing car accident reconstruction and stuff like that for courtrooms. And then I did that for about a year, and it got a little heavy. It's a little serious.
Oh yeah,
it's actually very serious. And so after a little while of doing that, I wanted to see if I can take my talents to either games or movies. At that time, like Pixar was barely coming out, and they were huge with Toy Story and stuff like that. And I was just so interested in that. But I really loved the interactivity of video games so much because I grew up playing games, like crazy. And because of that interactivity, like being able to play, it felt like playing a movie. I went that way. And so I pursued that very hard.
Ooh, nice. So what would you consider your main area of expertise?
My main area would probably be concept art. That's what I do the most, even though I love to do other things when I can, like animation and modeling. I would say my forte is concept art.
And when it comes to concept art, what do you think people don't know about it that we should know about?
The most important thing about concept art is being able to convey an idea clearly, and that's to everyone involved in the production of whether it's a game, a movie, whatever. So make sure you get really good at making and executing an idea clearly. Because really what you're wanting to do is execute it for people who don't quite see the vision clearly. And so that might be money men. It might be people that don't really have creative minds so much. You want to make sure that those people in particular really get the idea of, hey, this is what we want to create. This is what it's going to look like. This is how it should feel. So you're really creating concept art for their benefit so that they can clearly see, like, hey, this is what we want to do.
And do you have like a storytelling behind each concept art, or how do you like actually tell that story or try to make them understand what you're trying to do?
Well, yeah, each concept usually starts with you talk with a designer or you talk with a creative director, and you kind of find out what you're trying to execute, right? So it's like, we want to make sure that this game takes place in the far future, or, we want to make this game in the Wild West. First you kind of got to feel those things out, and it helps to have good direction. After that, you usually want to talk with the designers and see what they have in mind, because usually they have a pretty clear idea. Like if it's a character concept, they'll say, oh yeah, we want to make an elf, and this elf has got 2 blades, and the design, he's going to be a wood elf, so his outfit needs to look like he comes from like the autumn leaves, like that's his motif. So you start getting these ideas, and then you can start painting the picture. You go from there. But that usually helps is if you have a little bit of direction, like good direction on which way you want to take the idea, and then you go for it. You just, you let the ideas come. And at that point, there's no bad idea, right? You're concepting everything out. So you go for it. You put everything out that you can. After you do concepts, you usually kind of shotgun it, right? So you let every idea that comes to you, pursue it. Let it come out. Mm-hmm. Let it happen. Let it come to fruition. And then you usually take it back to either your art leads or the directors and stuff like that. And then they come around and they're like, yeah, this really feels like what I had in mind. This really feels like the direction we want to go. And then you keep pursuing it further and further, and kind of detailing down as you go. you get more and more detailed. So
Yeah, just keep drawing.
yes,
keep drawing.
always. Yes, always.
Just keep drawing. So if people had to teach themselves concept art, what resources would you recommend they use?
Actually, if you had to teach yourself, right now the internet is an amazing resource. And when I say the internet, I mean YouTube for tutorial videos. If you can't get free ones off of YouTube, then you can go to resources like Gumroad or CubeBrush, and those are websites that they'll sell tutorials. And there's many other websites that do it, but go purchase tutorial videos off the internet and then do them. A lot of professionals will go step by step by step on how they create things, how they, will concept, how they model, how they'll animate, whatever your kind of area of expertise is. There is somebody, a very, very good professional who probably has a tutorial on how to do it and how to do it very well professionally.
And that would be a great investment because if you're buying off of someone that's have years of experience, you're basically modeling after the best. And that's a great way to start.
Oh, yeah. I cannot stress that enough. It is learning from the best because they're professional. And like you said, they've been doing it for years. It's an amazing investment that you invest in yourself.
You have to spend that money. Yeah. For better quality, you're going to have to spend money. And really, sometimes it's not even that expensive at all.
Oh, no, yeah. Very affordable.
Stop going out eating lunch for like a whole week and just use that money to buy a class online. So
it's very true.
And
yes.
I hope people don't think that it's expensive to take these courses because Udemy has really cheap courses online, like
yes.
$10, $25. And so, yeah, just go on Udemy and just check out those courses and they have reviews on it as well. So whatever has the best reviews, that could be like a great start right there.
Oh, yes, that's absolutely true. Udemy, other ones, I've seen professionals who basically do online mentorships. And yes, they're like $30 a month. And it's like, dude, that kind of investment into yourself, not only in terms of like the art skill you're going to get out of it, but also the connections that you're going to make, like in terms of meeting people. You're going to be mentoring under people who are professionals in the industry. And those kind of relationships are, man, you definitely want to foster relationships like that. Because if guys like that are putting in a good word for you, that can pay off in tremendous ways.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because on Udemy, some classes you can actually interact with other people that's also taking the class. So that's like another way of networking right there. You're actually meeting and working with other people on the class sometimes. It depends on the class. And bam, yes. You're networking with people that's trying to do the same thing you are. So what are your key principles for better game development?
I would definitely say keeping an open mind for sure. Because like one thing I learned as being a creative director at one point in my career is like, it's not your job to always have the best idea. It's your job to always get the best idea, which means that it might not come from you, the best idea, right?
Yeah.
It might come from someone else. And you never know who that might be. It could be from a programmer you're working with, a designer, the audio guy. Like, so keep your mind open, and open to creativity coming in. Because it's super important to not always think you're going to have the best idea.
And so what do you tell people? Like, people let their ego get in the way because they work on this for so long. How do you tell them or persuade them to take another route that's best for, the overall game? Because, people, they do have that ego or they just like, man, I've been working on this so long. I don't want to change it. Or they probably persuade themselves that, oh, this is great as is. So it doesn't need to change. And so I'm curious at how other developers would like try to persuade their teammate, hey, we got to do it this way. This works better.
It's kind of a two-part answer. Part one is it's so critical and important to find the right people to work with because the right people usually know how to keep that ego in check. And then if for whatever reason the ego does come up, it rears its ugly head, they understand that, the guys that they're working with, usually when they're putting forth their ideas, they want the best for the game too, right? So it's always going to be in your best interest to listen to them because, you know what? You might have a great idea, and then they come in and say, "Oh man, that idea is fantastic, but what if we did it like this? It might even be better." And then you're like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's do it that way." So if you are working with people like that, it's a very easy process. That's why I love the guys I'm working with now. If you aren't working with people like that, yeah, it can be painful, honestly. Like it can be some of the most painful experiences you have in game development, because you're going to be spending a lot of time butting heads. You're going to be spending a lot of time going down roads that you know better not to. You know, you might have the experience like, we shouldn't do that. We know better than doing this. And you find yourself going down that road anyway. So working with the right people, finding the right people to work with, it's so critical.
Yeah, and one thing I would advise is, if you do have to tell someone to try out another advice, try to recommend it, but not like don't force them to try to make a change. Like recommend it in a subtle way. Hey, it's probably a good idea if we try this out, instead of like being like, hey, Renee, this is wrong. We need to change it right now. Like, I think it's good to be subtle with it and be nice about it or something. just don't go straight there and tell them, hey man, this is not good. We gotta change it.
Yeah, your idea is dumb. Let's do mine instead.
Yeah, we can't be doing that.
You're absolutely right. Like, that's another thing that I'll put it another way. When I used to work at Timegate, with Rick and Zach, that was our first game job, and when we would interview artists, we already knew that we liked their talent. Like, you wouldn't even get flown down to Timegate to Houston unless you had already passed the art test, right? Because we could already see your artwork online. We already knew, like, yeah, this guy can handle the job. He's amazing. Why we would fly you down is because we wanted to see how you were with the team. Because if you couldn't get along with the team, we can't work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't work with you, like, you can have the greatest ideas in the world, you can have the most talent in the world, but if you're a jerk, it's not going to work out.
And no one wants to work with the jerk.
No one wants to work with you. Artists don't want to work with you. Programmers, no one wants to work with you. So it's like, it's very important that or learn, even if you don't know, how to work with other people. It is a skill like you need to work on.
You've been in the game industry for so long, and creating games can be very long and difficult. So I'm pretty sure you had like really bad moments. Give us a personal experience of your most difficult moment. And it could be like an obstacle or emotion you have to overcome. Just be very detailed and give us that story.
Okay. In one of the games we made, there was an idea that I really, really wanted to do because I thought it was going to be awesome. And it just kept getting shot down over and over and over. Yeah, and it was not something that I just thought would be cool. We all thought it would be cool. And at the time, there wasn't really anything like it. But, like in the movie Ghost in the Shell, there's that badass spider tank. Well, I've loved Ghost in the Shell forever, right, since it came out. And so one of the game ideas I really, really wanted to do was I wanted to drive a spider tank. I wanted to be in the spider tank and just go wrecking stuff all over the place, right? Like, I want to be in that thing destroying whatever's in my path.
Yeah.
And everyone, we all thought it was awesome, and it just kept getting shot down. Like, no, certain people who are who also help make decisions would be like, no, we're not going to do it. It doesn't work, whatever reasons. And it was just crushing, right? Because I just was so on it. And it was very painful to see it just keep getting shot down, knowing that it was going to be hopefully cool.
It is a cool idea.
We all thought so. But what I had to learn is keep trying to do those ideas when you believe in them so strongly. But if it's not going to happen, like if it's just not going to get made, make sure whatever is going to get made, make sure you do it as good as possible. Make sure that whatever does get put through the pipeline, you make that thing as amazing as possible, no matter what. Because that should be the lesson that you take, no matter what you do, no matter what you touch, no matter what you work on. it should always be gold. Always. That's what you should always have in your mind. Like, I don't care that my awesome idea didn't go through. I mean, I do care, but and I do care a lot. But if it doesn't go through, I'm gonna make sure, like with all of my spirit, my heart, my talent, that whatever does get made, I'm still gonna make it as if it was that spider tank or the idea that I loved so much. Always focus on making whatever you touch just gold.
Just go. I know. I like that because, yeah, you have a favorite idea that you wanted to happen, but it kept getting turned down. But you didn't really let that stop you from making the best game ever for your company. And
Right.
game devs, they have to know that their ideas will get shot down from your teammate, from the higher up. It's just going to be, it's going to happen. So just be prepared for it. Don't take it too personally or seriously. You still have a great game ahead of you that you need to make for the company. And yeah, just keep doing your best at it.
Yes. And for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Because, ultimately in the end, it's going to reflect on you. It'll reflect just on your character. And then, God willing, if you wanted to go apply for another job, your portfolio will look amazing anyway, because no matter what you did, it was just amazing. So, never let that stuff get you down. Always fight to be awesome.
Awesome. Yes. What is the one thing you are most excited about today in the game industry?
In terms of like concepts, like big ideas, it's the idea that a small team can execute big ideas. Like, there's only 5 of us doing Gods of Olympus right now, and like, it's doing really well. And like, if you would have said that 5 guys did this game, like, it would have seemed crazy, but it's not. Like, we're just 5 guys who love what we do, and we do, try to do it to the best of our abilities, and we are, it's turning out pretty cool.
And that's the beauty of today's technology. Is like everybody has the ability to make an independent game or a small game. Or for one, Unity's free now, Unreal's free. There's tutorials, ton of tutorials online that people could go to and learn. Like, there's no excuse where you can't make a game, because there's so many different tools out there to make a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just game devs just got to go out there and start making something. Like, don't overthink it, or just don't be procrastinating or negative. Just go out there, pick a tool or something and get started. And
yes,
like you say, Gods of Olympus is doing really well, and it's only made by 5 people, and it doesn't stop you from making a great game.
No. So that in terms of just like, executability, I don't know what the word is. Executability. But it's the fact that a small team can make and execute big ideas. In terms of tech, like, I'm super excited about virtual reality and augmented reality. Like, those things are very cool. Very, very cool.
Awesome. So now, don't forget, Game Nation, you can check out all the show notes and link at gamedevloadout.com. Now we have reached crunch time, where you'll be giving us a ton of information at a very fast pace. So are you ready to crush this crunch time and release the show?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Okay. What was holding you back from becoming a game developer?
Fear, actually. I didn't think I could do it.
And I think that's a lot of people's fear too. They just don't think they could do it.
Yep. Do not let fear dictate anything you do. Because you'll be like, oh, should I not post this art because nobody's going to like it? Fear. Oh, I can't get into the game industry because, like, I don't have the skills to do it. Fear. Like, boil it down. Like, what's keeping you from doing what you really love doing? And normally it's going to be fear. So just when the answer boils down to fear, disregard fear, and then get rid of that. And then all of a sudden you'll see like all the doors open up, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's all these resources that I can use to get into the game industry or get into whatever you want to get into. So don't ever let fear dictate what you do, ever.
Well, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It might seem cheesy, but it's actually like, don't judge a book by its cover. Because really, you have no idea by looking at a person what they can achieve, what they can do, what talents they have, what they've been through in their lives. Like, really, that's the worst thing you can ever do, is just judge a person by looking at them. That's the worst.
And yeah, like you say, you used to interview artists. And what do you, I guess, seek in a person when you interview them? If that's okay for us to ask that.
Absolutely. We would actually laugh. We like to laugh a lot, right? Like, we like to joke around a lot. But what we wanted to see is, could you joke with the team? Like, could you fit in with the team? Could you mess around? Can you take it? Just horsing around, because it's like, we already know you're talented. So that's a huge check mark, right? So we need to know how your personality is. Can you laugh? Can you joke around? And not everybody does. Some people are real quiet and reserved, and that's fine too. But again, it's almost like to see how you interact with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, as long as you're not a jerk or, someone like that, like a negative disruptor, you can't, it's no good, that's the only type of person you don't want in your group. You don't want to bring that type of person in. But some people are catalysts, as in they make things happen, whether it's crazy or whatever, but some people can walk into a room and, oh my gosh, everyone just starts dying laughing because that person's crazy or funny. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, good. That's a good person to have. Other people are real quiet and reserved, and they come, they do their work, and they go home. And it's like, all right, that's great too. Like, that's fine. No problem. The person you don't want is a person who's going to come in with all this negativity and just disparaging, like, nope, that person you don't want to be in your group. So that's what we kind of try to get at during our interview process is what kind of person are you? Are you going to fit in good with the team? And usually I would say 95% of artists are just fine. You know what I mean? Like, they fit in perfectly fine. And then every once in a while you'll get a person who, is mean or just negative, and it's like, yeah, it's cool. We're just going to go with another person. Like, people, you'll see them dress in completely different ways. Like, they'll be, like, don't judge them by how they dress. Don't judge them because they're a woman. Don't judge them, because they're old. Don't judge them because they're young. Like, just don't judge a book by its cover. And usually you'll come out astounded, like, oh my gosh, this person's amazing. I'm so glad I didn't, judge them wrong.
Mm-hmm. And it's important it's just to not judge too much in general. It's just not a good habit to have.
Exactly.
Not until you know that person, and then you can say something. But yeah, don't don't judge.
And even then, even when you know that person, it's still not a good policy to judge them anyway. Right? Like, just, we're all human. You know what I mean? And enjoy that. Enjoy just knowing and getting to know the human condition, like, because it's amazing.
What's a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Ooh, I love to draw something every day. Drawing every day. It's like, just to keep yourself sharp. And me personally, like, I don't just draw to draw every day. I draw with like an intent or a very specific purpose in mind, because, like, I'm always wanting to get better at something. So usually I want to identify something I'm kind of weak at. So, it might be shadows or skin tones or whatever, right? Like, I want to draw hair better. So go find some tutorials on hair. They're out there all over the place. If you, go look, I want to draw skin, or I want to draw cloth better. Go look it up. Somebody will have a really good tutorial on it, and then follow it. Like, always practice with intent. That to me is something I do. If I can't draw every day, I make sure to at least accomplish like a work-related goal every day. So, like on Gods of Olympus, one of the things I'm working on right now is some animation for the characters. And, I make sure, like, if I'm not going to draw for the evening, then I'm going to make sure I finish this character animation, or I'm going to do, this idle animation or a fidget animation or some kind of something that I'm going to complete. And then I can go to sleep actually feeling fulfilled. Like, I feel like, man, yeah, I'm using my talents the way I'm supposed to every day. because it is a gift.
Now, this next question is a bit of a doozy, so take your time if you have to. Imagine you woke up the next morning in a brand new world and you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have today. Your food and shelter is taken care of, and you have a laptop. What would you do step by step on the path to become a great game developer?
Well, the first thing I'd do is, I'd have to go find like-minded developers. That's the most important thing, because look, everybody's got great ideas, right? Like great ideas, they usually, most game developers have them. It's executing those ideas. That's the hardest thing to do. And it's like if you're not with the right team to execute those ideas,
It ain't gonna happen.
It's not happening. You're gonna have a tough time. So, and most of the ideas I have are not like a one developer game. That's why I'm saying I'd go find a team of like-minded developers, because it's like right now there's only 5 of us, but we're making the game we want to make. So I would go find a team of like-minded developers and then get going.
Yes.
Especially if there's no money, like if that's not the issue, like, yeah, I'm going to go. Honestly, like the guys I'm working with right now, I would seek them out. I would find them, and I'd be like, all right, guys, now we can just do whatever we want to do, right? Let's go for it. I mean, we kind of did that anyway, but that's what I love. We did that anyway. We did have all of those problems, like all those issues, and we did that anyway, which I freaking love about these guys. So I would just do it again.
Yes. All right. Yeah, we reached the end. Give us a parting piece of guidance in how we can connect with you.
I would suggest that, something that I've learned over the years is like whenever I have a dream and I get an idea, the first thing I do is wake up and write that idea down, no matter what time it is. It doesn't matter, because you might forget it or whatever. But then after I write it down and I give it some further thought, I always acknowledge it. I don't know, this might sound crazy, but to me it's not anymore, just because of my personal experiences. But I almost treat those ideas like it's a living entity, like it's visiting me. And the reason I use the word visit is because, like, if I don't do the idea, it's going to move on and visit somebody else, because I've seen that happen so many times in my personal life, where I either look at art or I see a new game coming out and I'm like, what the? that was my idea. And it's like, no, that actually isn't your idea. That idea, it's alive, and it will go from person to person, and it will visit you because it thinks you might be the right one to execute it. And if you don't, it's going to move on and it's going to visit someone else. And that's why I say I think they're alive. I know it might sound crazy, but it's just a living thing, these creative ideas, and they won't stop at you if you don't execute it. They'll keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go on to somebody until that person says yes, acknowledges it and says, yes, I'll do it. And then they execute it. And another thing that I've seen in my experiences is that person might not even execute it the way you would have. Like, you might think, oh, I would have done it better than that. But the fact is you didn't, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something well, at least me, I acknowledge it now. So whether or not I can actually do the idea when it comes to me, I still acknowledge it. And I tell it, thank you. Like, thank you for coming to me. Like, that's an amazing idea, but one of 3 things is going to happen. I either tell the idea, thank you so much, like, I'm going to get started right now, right? And I start drawing it. Or 2, I tell the idea, like, I can't do, like, I'm doing another idea right now, but I'm putting you in the queue and I'm going to do you next, or I'm going to do you right after I do the next one, right? But you're in the queue and I'm going to do you, right? Or not do, yeah, let's clean it up here. I'm going to execute the idea. How about that?
Yeah.
Or number 3, I tell it, thank you so much for visiting me. And honestly, I can't execute you properly right now. Like, I can't properly carry out and execute the vision the way I should. So, move on. Feel free to move on. Thank you for visiting me, but go make yourself available to others as well, because they'll probably be able to execute you better than I can. When I talk to it and I think of it that way, basically I'm just staying in dialogue with my inner creativity, right? You always stay in touch, and not just in touch, but you talk with it, because again, man, these creative ideas don't, I'm an artist, right? I'm actually able to execute these ideas. And so, I'm very fortunate, that ideas come to me, and the creative types, we should all be very fortunate, because not everybody has that gift. You know what I mean? This doesn't happen to everybody. And it took me a really long time to realize that, oh, you know what? Other people don't have these ideas, or they don't have visions like I do. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, that's not actually common, so I need to treat it that way, thank you for coming to visit me. I really appreciate it, and keep coming. I really, I thank you for coming to me.
Wow.
But that's one piece of advice. And then the other, again, is after that, don't let fear dictate anything, especially if you get the idea and then you're yeah, I'm going to start drawing this, man. It's going to be awesome. There will be a point where you're this is kind of stinks, or it's not as good as I thought it would be. Again, that's fear. Just you punch fear right in the face, get it out of your way. Do not let fear dictate, what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a thing called a healthy fear, which is, you might fear that you're going to get worse at art, or, you're losing your skills. So, there's a fear of getting worse. So, let fear drive you to do better, because you don't want to, lose your touch or lose your skill. But don't let fear dictate you doing or not doing something. So there's a big difference. Again, there's a healthy fear, which is, a fear that can drive you to do amazing things because you don't want to fall or go backwards. But then there's a fear that tells you you're not good enough. Yeah, forget that fear.
Ooh, Phillip, you dropping value bombs today. These are amazing values, and people need to take heed and listen. And how can we connect with you?
The current game we're working on is Gods of Olympus, and you can go to our Facebook, and it's just Gods of Olympus, no spaces. You can find us there. That's the current project. And then, I'm one of the co-founders of Orb Interactive, and we're also on Facebook. So you can go to Orb Interactive on, there and follow us and see us there. And then if you would like to follow me personally on Instagram, my Instagram is Phillip Morales Art. And you can get in touch with me there, DM me, and, we can discuss whatever you'd like to discuss. Because I really like when people are searching for, knowledge and wanting to get better. There are so many people in our industry who want to help you. I mean, and they're very selfless about giving knowledge and information about what they do and how they do it. And it's I know every time I look at those people making tutorials and tutorial videos and stuff like that, I'm always just thank you so much for being so cool and so giving of your time and expertise. And so I, in my own little way, want to be that cool, and that giving. So, reach out and I'll be glad to help you,
Yes, and we are grateful for you for doing this. You are basically teaching us and giving us knowledge right now, so we are grateful for that, and we appreciate it, Phillip. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, definitely check him out, Game Devs. Check out his game, his website. I will link everything up on the website. Yeah, cheers to more and better gaming. Until then, we will catch you next time, Phillip. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Game Devs, for listening, and remember that knowledge is only potential power. Execution is the game. So equip yourself with the best loadout and take action today. Go check out GameDevLoadout.com for all the resources. And if this podcast inspired you, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe and leave a review. Until then, join me on the next episode. T-Chan out.